And all of a sudden, someone comes off and sucker punches Kevin right in the jaw. Literally sucker punches Kevin in the jaw.
I financed a boat. That means you can't afford a boat. If you can't buy the boat, you can't afford a boat. You don't finance toys.
I quickly run around, jump on the guy's back. It's just kind of this brawl while we're holding the guy, trying to get the cops there. I got into Ninja Warrior.
I was at the playground with my 6-year-old a couple weeks ago, and I was just trying to do the monkey bars.
Yeah.
It's amazing how difficult that is.
His monkey bars are 8 feet apart.
I know. It was just crazy.
Yeah.
So, hey everybody, you're kicking it with the Homeboys and the Homeboys podcast, and we are super excited today to bring to you Matt Tortoriello of Two Guys Take on Real Estate and also the Flippin' Ninja Landlord. He's got a lot of really exciting stories when it comes to real estate, producing really funny and interesting content, and he's a ninja warrior. How about that? We are not ninja warriors. But anyhow, let's dive right into it. Matt, how are you, my friend? Thanks for being on the show.
Good. Thanks for having me on the show, guys. Thanks a lot.
No, we're really grateful that you came on. We've talked a little bit before we got on the air, and we kind of talked about our content being an outlet. And Scotty and I just got done watching a bunch of your guys' content. There's a lot of content on landlording and the real estate market today. We're just really honored to have you. But first of all, let's just get to know you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm originally from the Berkshires in Massachusetts. Born and raised, kind of have stayed in Mass all my life. And about 15 years ago, I kind of started this company with my best friend, Kevin, who's the other two guy. Yep. And yeah, we kind of started growing and staying in this area, kind of trying to figure it all out as the years went by. Starting with like a little, duplex and kind of house hacking and also burrowing into more deals. Other than that, I got into Ninja Warrior, like you mentioned, about 7 years ago, because I've always been into fitness. And someone just happened to see me at a rock gym and asked me about it. And I didn't know what Ninja Warrior was at the time. So I kind of had to start watching videos, and I got hooked and tried to find out some competitions and other gyms in the area. And then one thing led to another. I eventually got on the show, and it's just been a passion ever since.
I think it's awesome because I actually watched the show with my 6-year-old. She's like enthralled with American Ninja Warrior, and I think I find it the most interesting just because I am so unmotivated when it comes to fitness. Mm-hmm. And I used to be at one time, but man, I really, really struggle. But I think something that Scotty and I both admire a great deal when it comes to people that we talk to is work ethic. And obviously, I was at the playground with my 6-year-old a couple weeks ago, and I was just trying to do the monkey bars.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how difficult that is. It's amazing how difficult
his monkey bars are 8 feet apart.
I know. It was just crazy. Yeah. So let's talk about that, because I think it's interesting. I know that work ethic kind of flows into the real estate world that Scotty and I live in, and that you live in as well. So tell us about your fitness. I know I'm interested in it because I need to get my fat butt off of this chair and actually do something. But tell us about your fitness routines.
Sure. So just like in business, I found creating a routine is really important, and sticking to it. That's been one of my keys to success. And so every morning, I'm generally up around 4 to 4:30 in the morning, and I get to my office, where actually we have our gym. And from around 5:30, I'm training till about 6:30, 7 o'clock. And generally, I want to keep it fun, just like business. If you're not, enjoying what you're doing, I think it's not going to, and have a passion for it, it's not going to last. And so, what's more fun than, like you said, monkey bars, bouncing around, jumping around? I'm not just lifting weights, which I supplement with that here and there, but Most of the time it's creating fun courses and trying to learn a new skill and unlock something to play around with. And that's, just keeps it always fresh and fun.
So every day you're up and at 'em early, working out every day.
Except for Sundays. So I do now have a 1-year-old. And so he's been consuming, my evenings as well as I keep my weekends free for him. But on Saturday, I come in early to work out a little bit and then get back to home we go on hikes. And every Sunday, he also has a swim class. So I take him to the swim class and stuff. So
that's when my fitness journey kind of stopped. Scotty knows I used to be into staying in shape and, running, mini marathons and working out. Once I had kids, and I'm a little old for having 3 and 6-year-olds, but really it stopped for me 6 years ago once I had kids. How has that been, having a 1-year-old and being able to maintain your fitness regimen?
It's definitely a shift. So luckily, my wife's an amazing woman, and so she kind of handles the day, and so I still get my morning routine, which kind of keeps my mind straight. But really, it hasn't changed a drastic amount, other than at nights I used to work out twice a day. Now I'm more just once a day, but I'm not doing as many competitions because I'd rather go hang out with him. But what I found is making sure what we do hang out with. So we go hiking a lot. So instead of going to a ninja competition every weekend or going to like an OCR race, those obstacle course races, I've been more taking him going on hikes. We're going to go, probably in a week, so we're going to Monadnock, which is a big mountain up in New Hampshire. So we just try to go on different hikes and different adventures together and just kind of keep active.
I was just out at Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons for about 10 days, and I found something really interesting. Because I went after school was back in session, there weren't a lot of families with young kids, but the number of parents there with like an under 5-year-old or whatever before kindergarten that brought their young kids and were out hiking, I was amazed by it. Like, I feel like it was every other person had a baby with them. They were just out hiking with their youngster. It was pretty neat to see. I think it might have been the timing that I was there, because I do a lot of the national parks. But yeah. I just found it fascinating how many of these little kids were on these trails. We're talking 3,000 feet of elevation change, and these kids are just running around like crazy, It was interesting.
You're about to cough up a lung.
Oh, I brought a scooter for a reason. What's that, Little Rascal? That's what I needed.
Right.
You remember that little, for old folks at the grocery?
Yes.
I needed a Little Rascal out there in a bad way. Well, let's dive into the real estate. You mentioned just a little bit that you got into it kind of through hacking and some of the Burr method. So it sounds like you didn't start with just a giant pile of cash, just millions and millions of dollars, and we're like, heck, what should I do with all this money?
No. So when I really first got started, actually, I was 16. So that was my first experience. It was a 2-family house out in Pittsfield. I got my grandmother basically to kind of do the hard money loan and sign all the docs, and I did all the work. And sold it a couple of years later, made like 30 grand, thought I was like, I was 18. I'm like, woo, yeah, great, blew it all.
Of course.
Yeah. And then I played again a little in Saginaw, Michigan, and got foreclosed on there, and like just lost everything. Someone, I hired a property management company, and they kept stealing from me. So I, moved to another management company, like a big management company. I'm like, all right, bigger's better. I'll be safe. And they left it vacant, and 50% more vacant for over 3 months. And when they basically, the last person stole all the toilets, the sinks, the hot water heaters, the furnaces, stole everything. And the insurance company found out that it had been vacant for over 3 months, more than 50%. They basically denied the claim. So I lost everything there. So I got beat down quite a bit early on, but then I still had this vigor that I knew there was something more, and that I just a regular job is just not for me. And so about 15 years ago with Kevin, I convinced him somehow to join me after my great success that I've already had, to join me in, doing this one more time. And honestly, I, just kind of put my nose to the ground. Kevin and I found a duplex. Actually, speaking of which, the realtor that we got, she went to clown school. So you're talking about clown school.
Hey,
I don't know.
There it is. As we just spoke about, I used to be a drummer in a clown band. Yeah. So, hey, sounds like my kind of person.
We both went to Indiana University. Do you remember the clown school that was just north of Bloomington? Did you ever see that?
No.
Oh, I got some stories for you.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that. I may be put my resignation in here. Yeah. But anyhow, your realtor, the clown.
Yep. So she was a tough cookie. She went and basically would go into all these abandoned properties. So this is Springfield. This is after, just after the crash, 2008. So there were boarded up property everywhere. And little did I know that I was buying at the right time. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just like, I knew I wanted to do something different. And so we just started searching for houses. We found this Boston style duplex. And we're like, all right, we're going to buy this. And Kevin had met a hard money lender. I'm like, all right, well, whatever. I didn't know what a hard money lender was. Just like, okay, he wants this. Okay. As long as the numbers work. I was good at math. And I'm like, the spreadsheet, put a spreadsheet together. Seemed like it would work out. Sure, the rehab's going to be only, $20,000. What? No big deal. Start renovating it. I'm doing most of the work myself, learning it as I go. I went to school for pre-med, so I didn't know what, but I figured it out. So started, sanding the floors, changing out fixtures and figuring this all out. 20 went to 30, went to 35, because, the stack was cracked and the heating system, the heat exchanger was cracked and blah, blah, blah. So one thing after another. Okay, we'll get through it. We just put our heads down, work hard. Kevin was working at a used car dealership at the time. And so he'd come after work, and I had, actually just got laid off from this job I did have. And so I'm like, I'm 100% in on this, and just kind of figured it out. And
was your plan to flip it or long-term hold?
Was a long-term hold.
Okay.
So we were, like there were 5 bedrooms each side. We're like, oh, we're going to get tons of money. We'll get Section 8. We don't have to worry about it. Blah, blah, blah. Fantastic. So the first person that came that said they wanted it had Section 8. We're like, yes, woo, you got it. It's all yours. Well, that was probably our worst tenant ever too, because there was no screening process, no nothing. And there's many stories on her and how bad that went. But we basically were able to refinance it. Somehow we did the right thing. We got enough value, pulled out extra money, took that and put it into the next deal, and just started rolling it. And so we bought, another 3-family after that, and then that bought a 2-family, and then we bought another 2-family, and then I was actually in an adult gymnastics class at the time. Once again, this was before Ninja, but I wanted to still learn how to flip. So I was in an adult gymnastics class just talking about, what we were doing. And all of a sudden this guy came up. He's like, well, I'm interested. I just sold a bunch of flips he had done, I guess, in Mexico. So he wanted to invest with us and, hear more. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about this. And that kind of led into another partnership that kind of allowed us to really, blow up. And we were starting to put out hundreds of offers every week, and deals were just coming back. That was back when, there was a lot of short sales. So we would put offers, get them accepted by the buyer, and then we'd have to wait for the bank to kind of, give their approval. And so all of a sudden we had so many offers out. And then, as the months went by, all of a sudden they started coming back in. All right, the bank approved. And all of a sudden we were just having offers one after another. And it was just kind of, a lot of those and a lot of REOs.
It's an interesting time that you were doing it, because we were both in real estate before the 2008 happened. But even though we've been in it, we're in it through that, we still, in retrospect, looking in the rearview mirror, had no idea how great we had it in those years. No idea. We knew that it was cheap, but no idea just what an amazing time to acquire properties it was.
100% agree. If we could only go back,
right.
We were buying stuff at 15, 18 a unit that I'm now selling at over 100 a unit.
Sure.
It's crazy.
I know. Well, I want to go backwards just a little bit, because I think that this is something that we always are trying to preach to our audience. So I want to say this again, Matt, you had just got laid off from your job.
Yep.
And your partner, Kevin, Kevin was working at a used car dealership at the time. And you went in, you put your big boy pants on, you got after it, you did a lot of the work yourself, you really watched what you were spending. And tell us today how many doors that you and Kevin, own and are self-managing.
Yeah, let me summarize again. No piles of cash. Mm-hmm. Only one of the two is employed. Don't know construction. Don't really know a lot about real estate. Has had some experience, which was 50-50 so far. One went wrong, one didn't, and went out and did it. And how many doors are you at now?
So currently we are at about 350 doors. At the peak, we are at about 600 doors.
Amazing. It can be done.
And we hear people all the time saying, "Oh, I don't know how to get in. I can't do this. I don't, have enough money. I don't have this." That is an amazing success story that, we live in such a pessimistic society. To see someone with your work ethic, and I'm assuming, Kevin's as much the same, to be able to do that. Do you look back on it now and think, wow, how did we do this? Or is it just so slow over time? It just kind of kept building and building?
So definitely was not an overnight success. Many failures over the years, but it was all about learning from each failure to, impact to the next one and the next one. And, how can we keep improving? And then also surrounding us, right now we have about 20 some odd employees, and surrounding ourselves with a fantastic team, whether it be the realtor, the great lawyers, great employees. That was kind of the key to success, to kind of keep it growing going from there. But yeah, looking back, I know Kevin always jokes about we would probably never start again in the state that we started in. It's a very tenant-friendly state, very difficult. The laws are stacked against you as a landlord, but we made it here. So making it anywhere else would,
Yeah, but I understand in theory that you want to go to the other side of the fence where the grass is greener and things are easier. But at the same time, somebody's got to do it in your market. And so why not you? One of the things that I've found really interesting about doing so many of these interviews we do with really successful folks like you and your business partner is the resiliency and the work ethic. Those are kind of the two things. I've yet to hear a story where it went smooth from day one. I mean, it's about taking those punches over and over and getting up, dusting yourself off, and still moving forward, almost to a point of insanity, what a normal person wouldn't be willing to do. I've always found that separates guys like you and the ones that don't make it.
Yeah, 100% agree. So speaking of that, a little quick side story, getting sucker punched with all these beatdown. So that first tenant I mentioned that we had, well, we eventually had to evict that tenant. And so this is now maybe 2 or 3 years after we evicted the tenant. We're sitting at this, we bought this 16-unit apartment building, and we're renovating it. We had the contractors inside. I'm driving my little white Jeep. Kevin's, he was doing something on his phone in the passenger seat, with the car, just the door slightly ajar. I'm in the back seat getting some tools or whatever to hand for the contractor, and just kind of go and walk some of the units he was working on. And all of a sudden, someone comes off and sucker punches Kevin right in the jaw. Literally sucker punches Kevin in the jaw. And then he's scrambling. I quickly run around, jump on the guy's back. He's like, I'm a short guy. I'm 5'6". This guy is much taller than I am. So I jump on his back, wrestle him to the ground. So we're, wrestling with him, and Kevin's, coming out, and, the contractor come out, started pummeling the guy. It was just kind of this brawl while we're holding the guy, trying to get the cops there. And turns out the guy broke Kevin's jaw. So Kevin didn't get he had to sip through a straw for 3 or 4 months for a while. And Yeah, and that was actually the cousin of our first tenant that was upset that we evicted her and stuff like that. And
if that ain't the school of hard knocks, I don't know what is, baby.
It's literally the Rocky quote. It's not, life isn't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
Literally getting hit.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, that just kind of, once again, that just, some people might have ran away and said, that's it. This isn't for me, but we just kind of buckled down to like, no, we're going to do even better. And we just kind of kept pushing forward. But there's a lot of stories like that.
I bet. And you've kept that smile on your face somehow through all of this.
Well, I didn't get my jaw broken.
No.
Right. Well, let's dive into some of your content. And again, it's two guys' take on real estate, Matt and Kevin. And I've watched a lot of your content. I'm a landlord at heart. I run a pretty large property management company. So does Scotty, but kind of my arm in the business is more the property management.
I own half of it.
You own half of it,
but he runs it.
But I find a lot of your content very useful for anyone that is getting into the game of owning property and renting it out. I watched a clip that you guys did about a month ago, which really resonates with me, but it's very unpopular in today's world, where you are talking about a tenant that is looking to downsize and save some money, and they had already paid you, I believe in the clip it said $90,000 in rent, and we don't know what the next tenant is going to do to our place if this person leaves. Why don't we take this 4-bedroom house, turn it into the price of a 3-bedroom house, and keep this amazing tenant in there? And the thing that I find interesting about it is, like, I agree, like, periods of vacancy and having to fix a property up after someone leaves. That's the biggest hit to your bottom line. Yet, in today's very real estate guru-driven society, that is not a popular thing that you did, because everyone's saying, "Oh, you got to raise rents, you got to raise them," and it's just that's what we see on social media a lot. So one, I was very happy to see that it was so well received and so many people had watched it. But do you find yourself with stuff like that you're technically going against the guru grain, so to say?
I mean, we definitely never, try to fit ourselves into some kind of, nice little package that the gurus might look at us. And we try to tell, it's a short form content usually. So it's, you got 30 to 60 seconds. You're trying to teach maybe some kind of aspect. And I think one of the things we've always prided with our short form content is trying to teach people about all the mistakes we've done. And we've definitely gone that route. We got to get the most rent, all that stuff. And I think very few people new getting into it realize that there's not huge margins with this. If you're making $200 a unit and you have to lose that tenant, and then you've got the turnover, then you have the time lost and anything else that might happen. It could take you years to recoup that actual, and that's also $200 a unit. That's hoping the tenants pay on time. You don't have to, file any kind of eviction paperwork. You don't, they don't have a lot of maintenance issues. They didn't sneak a dog in or washer and dryer and then flood the bottom unit. So everything going well, it could take you a long time. So I think it's in your best interest to figure out what, and could be a good way to keep a tenant and that might be lowering the rent, just so that you can actually, have a profitability. So it's good for the tenant, and I'm happy to keep her and she's great, but also it's good for me and my bottom line.
It's neat to see someone out there talking about it, because we just feel like those are the kinds of messages that get lost out there on social media. And it's a philosophy that we agree with wholeheartedly. Our homes are never the most expensive in the neighborhood, but they're always the nicest, which means that we get the choice of the best tenant. We keep our tenants in there. And in our market, we're talking, our average rents are around $1,300 now. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about raising rents by $25. If you are losing a tenant and having to do a tenant turn and all those months of vacant rent, trying to chase $300 for the entire year of increase for an entire year, $25 a month, it's ridiculous. And so there's a way to be compassionate also at the same time. So it can be a win-win-win for every single party involved.
Say it's even a $100 increase. That's $1,300, or excuse me, $1,200 for the year.
All it takes is 1 month.
You get someone that trashes the place and causes $10,000 of damage. You've got lease up costs, vacancy, utilities, all that stuff that goes on. It's even $100 isn't worth it, in my opinion.
It's good. Yeah, it's good advice.
And I don't know what it's like with you in you said Indiana, right?
Yeah, Indiana.
For eviction for us, if they have stuff, we have to actually put it in a bonded warehouse. We have to actually pay to store it for 6 months. So, I've had evictions cost, just the eviction part cost me $6,000 plus the back rent, plus then the turn. So,
we've got it easy here.
Expensive.
We've got it very easy here.
Really?
We're about as we're always one of the most. There's a few lists. I don't know who creates these lists, but we're always one of the most landlord friendly states out there. But at the same time, we don't have a lot of evictions. Believe it or not, in our market, 1,300 rents is the top 5%.
Oh, really?
Indiana is the 6th lowest rent average in the country, which is crazy because we are, we have typically 3% unemployment here, below national average. It's an amazingly beautiful, especially Indianapolis area of wealth and success. So it's never really made a lot of sense to me. But our rents are very affordable here. So
nice.
Yeah. So
and rarely do we ever get to a situation where we're having to store tenants stuff. Here, if you have a tenant that truly won't move out, you've got to pay for the constable and the moving company to come in and move their stuff, and then they're required to pay that back to you. But the storage aspect to me just seems
absurd.
It's just bananas.
Yeah.
I agree. Just like we can't charge a late fee in this state until they're 30 days late, wherever everyone else can charge it, when they're, less than 15. But landlords, nope, 30 days.
So just pay 29 days late every time, and there's nothing you can do.
Nope.
Bananas. It's bananas.
Yeah, we charge late fees on day 6. It's and I think
that would be a 93A issue if I did.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we don't realize how good we have it at times, And another thing that you touched on that I found interesting, and this doesn't apply to new folks as much as somebody who's kind of seasoned and starting to maybe grow their business and wanting employees, but you talked about not having turnover. One of the things that Clint and I are the proudest of is our teams. We give 401k health insurance, and we don't have turnover. And once you get to that point in real estate, this is a difficult business. This is difficult, and there's a lot of headaches. It's a very difficult, and you've got to hold on to these people who are good at it and build your team. And I think that's a credit to what you've built, is the idea that you've got a team that you guys are close and you care about.
So you're right, and honestly, it took us a while to figure that out. I'll be honest. We thought we always had to have the cheapest. Let's keep our, because that's your fixed cost, your salary consistently. Keep it low as possible. But we've, over the years, definitely changed our mindset on that. The team is the most important thing. And we did the same thing. We got 401k, we did health, dental, and vision. We do trips. We do events with them. We go on OCRs together. We have game night together.
So you all are a bunch of ninjas, huh?
Yeah.
Not just you. You got the team up there flipping around, and
I'm trying to get them to flip. We'll see. Eventually, I'd like to have a big team video where we're all flipping. That'd be awesome.
Well, Clint and I, next time we're in that region, we haven't spoken out that area for a very long time. We used to travel and speak around the country a lot, but next time we're coming out, I expect you to teach us how to do some Ninja Warrior stuff.
Boy, I'm going to have to do a lot of stretching. Lot of stretching. Yeah, I'm going to have to get ready.
I'm willing to sacrifice my body just to be able to get a video of him doing it.
Considering I threw out my back putting on my golf shoes. This past summer.
You did.
Not playing golf, but actually putting on my golf shoes. I don't know that the Ninja Warrior course is probably conducive to this.
I think it'll be great.
We'll start you small. We'll start you on something small.
It's gonna have to be very small, but anyhow. So we've touched on your content a little bit. I feel like social media, really speaks to kind of that younger generation. Scott and I are both in our mid-40s. And not to say that people in their mid-40s and above aren't on social media, but I think that, your larger audience is that younger generation. And, we talk about the younger generation. I think it's very important for your story, like where you started with, literally nothing and have built this up. What would be your message out there to the younger generation? I know you guys have a lot of amazing content on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. What's your message for that younger generation?
Yeah, I think so I'm also in my mid-40s, I think for that younger generation, we try to explain that it's better to get started, get informed. I was just at BPCon recently. There was a lot of younger generations there. It was fantastic to see that. And I think that's really kind of important. If we were to start all over back when we were in our early 20s, I think I would, start with a house hack or something simple just to get your feet wet. It limits your expenses, and it's also, limits your risk. And that I think would be a fantastic way to get started. And then eventually, if you find that you actually enjoy it and have some kind of passion for it, you can kind of leverage that and to kind of, grow your portfolio. And it doesn't have to be necessarily, real estate, even though I think we all love real estate, but there are other investments that you can, find, but, and get learning about investing and, improving and getting assets under your belt. Because if you're just going to, work and not actually own assets, which is what kind of my parents had, you're not going to kind of move to that next level. And I think that's kind of key.
I think it's interesting that there's kind of two directions people can take. And I think for most people, the actual answer is you should continue to do your job and just own some real estate on the side for the majority of folks. But then there's people like you who at 16 get addicted to it because you get a taste of how amazing real estate can be. For me, it was in college. I went and bought tax deeds and I made $500, not $30,000 like you made, but $500 to me on a tax deed was unbelievable. And it can really inspire you. So I feel like if people go into this where you don't quit your job and you maybe look at getting one property, whether it's through a house hack or maybe you've saved up because you're working and you can get your first rental, then seeing if that passion ignites. But we feel like out on social media, we don't see enough of the people saying, yeah, continue living the life you live. We're not trying to sell you this dream of running off in the sunset on a yacht because of real estate. We're talking about buying real world assets that our parents' generation kind of missed out on this idea, and that we're seeing Wall Street and hedge funders and institutional money going to it because it is a great way to invest. And it's a way that most individuals can do it and own a real world asset. So for most folks, this is as simple as adding real estate to your life that you already have. It's not about changing your life or throwing away your whole job. And I think that's an important message, and I'm glad you touch on that a lot.
I 100% agree. And you're right. I mean, even if someone just once a year, once every other year, learns and figures out how to buy another house, maybe a condo to rent out, whatever it is, something simple that they can either manage themselves or eventually hire like a professional property management company to oversee all the day-to-day stuff, especially in certain states where it's a little bit more tenant friendly. You want to make sure you know those laws because you can get burned. And that's the other thing we talk about, in some of our videos is that if you don't know how all the laws and how to kind of navigate them, and don't have a team, it can be very dangerous. So you need to make sure that you have really, good professionals on your team, whether you're buying 1, 2, 3 houses. I think that's key. But that's I agree that young generations should start.
Yeah. If you're not, if you don't know what you're doing, there's literally free help for you. Realtors get paid quote unquote for free. Property managers, it's baked in. All of these people can help you without you having to write them checks. We pride ourselves on the fact that we've both been licensed for decades and decades now, licensed real estate realtors. Are we out showing houses on the weekend? No, but we believe in being experts in our craft. And so for our clients, about 95% of our clients are out of state. Maybe higher, probably closer to 99% are out of state, and they invest here because it's a landlord-friendly state, and because the pricing is so it's so low compared to where most of them live. So people can do this from anywhere. Just because they're in a market that doesn't work, you can do this, and you can do vacation rentals. We see that all the time too now. That's popular. Have you tried vacation rentals?
I have some Airbnbs. Specifically, my wife actually runs an Airbnb in our basement. We bought a foreclosure, and the kind of the quick story about it was we bought a foreclosure. It had this maybe a dance studio in the basement at one point. And when I talked to her about it, I'm like, she wanted to, start her own business, and she was talking about doing a daycare. Like, okay, I'll renovate it for you. So I spent a bunch of money renovating it for her as a daycare, and then she changed her mind and, well, I don't know. I'm like, you're going to figure something out. All right. So, there's this thing, Airbnb, you can try it out. I don't know. I'm like, try it out. She loves it. And she's crushing it. She's doing so well with her Airbnb. And she's talking about possibly expanding and doing more midterm rentals. Working with like insurance companies, working with traveling nurses and stuff like that, so that she can get 30 plus day stays as opposed to the 1 or 2 day stays. But
we've got a few of these that we've signed up with of our properties with these nursing programs, and I'll have to look it up and see the name. But we've got a good track record with them, and I can email you the info on them. But we've had some good luck with the nursing, and then we've got a couple other res care, some other like care facilities that, there's some interesting ways that you can get a property to perform really well, getting creative through things like that, especially if it's a unique property. Well,
I also just want to briefly touch on another one of your clips that I watched that really resonated with me. You and Kevin were two on opposite sides of the fence with saving money, where you talked about getting a bonus at work, and one of you saved that money, and the other one went and bought a new iPhone and bought something else, and then and it showed like over time very quickly. It was very, very awesome clip. And then I think it was you that was buying a multifamily after you got a raise and another bonus, while Kevin was out just kind of blowing it and being part of the consumption world. So you share that same vision with Scotty and I on living within your means and saving your money and trying to build upon that, which I think is lost a lot of times in today's world.
We have a compounding calculator on our website, the Homeboys website, just so people can see how compounding works. It's just that simple. And I give you guys credit for in an entertaining way, and you have a big following for a good reason. It's entertaining, guys. If you haven't seen their stuff, go check it out. It's not only is it very informative, but it's entertaining, incredibly awesome. Entertaining. Mm-hmm. But the lessons that they're passing on they're doing the education system's job for them, because the education system has failed this younger generation, and they're passing on this info in an entertaining way. I suggest you follow them. They've got great little ideas like that, really basic stuff too, that sometimes isn't the most fun to hear. So when they do it in this entertaining way, it's pretty neat, and it's neat to see the difference. Deferred reward is very difficult, and I understand it. Like you said earlier, on your first house, you blew all your money right away. So did we. I made bad decisions. We talk about.
I was driving a Jaguar for all the wrong reasons.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. We made bad choices. I had a boat when I thought. This is a story that we talk about a lot, but. I went to one of the best business schools in the country. I understood, living within your means, and yet I still didn't do it. And I went out and I bought a boat when I could afford the payment. I financed a boat, And I didn't think anything of it until a family member said, "You financed a boat?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not?" And they're like, "That means you can't afford a boat. If you can't buy the boat, you can't afford a boat. You don't finance toys. You buy." but like, you know, so those are interesting lessons that I think you guys do a great job of sharing.
Do you guys enjoy it as much as it shows on video?
Yeah, no, we do enjoy it. We try to spend a little time each week on coming up with different ideas, and typically, actually, the ideas come from just our daily routine. So we did a video that went really well on public adjusters, and I was dealing with and we've used public adjusters in the past, but I was dealing with an issue on one of my our duplexes.
What's a public adjuster?
What?
What's a public adjuster? I don't even know what that is.
So when you're your insurance company, and they send out their internal adjuster,
Okay.
And they do their adjustment, and basically they're working for the insurance company.
Right.
And so what I've recommended, and I've used most of the time, is then I have a public adjuster. So I hire another company, it's a third party that comes in and they argue for me, and basically, nope, and they'll read through all the fine print, and then they'll make sure I get all the code upgrades and make sure all this stuff that I'm allowed for my policy. So typically, I've seen at least a 3 or 4x on the claim with the insurance companies, and so we did a video on that. That did really well. But yeah,
we just don't claim. We just eat it. When like we had a house freeze, it was icicles coming from everywhere. We just eat that.
Really?
Yeah, we just eat that. We've got Lloyd's of London policy though that's pretty unique.
Oh, yeah.
There's been a few extreme situations where we haven't ate it.
But I'd never heard of a public adjuster. Had you?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Interesting. I learned something. This is great.
Well, it's another good point. Always be learning, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, we have this thing, and we've touched on this a little bit, but we like to end our time together, Matt, with some closing questions. And we touched on it a little bit. If it's a little bit redundant, it's okay, because all this has been really great information. But first question: what is the best real estate decision you've ever made?
Getting started. Back when I was 16, just getting started.
Great.
16 is amazing. That I just look back at what I was doing whenever I was 16.
You were chasing girls, drinking beer, and smoking cigarettes.
Correct. I mean, there was no looking to get into real estate. So, and I think it's also important to note it's not too late. You don't have to be 16. You don't have to be 30. You don't have to be 50.
You were in the high school parking lot doing donuts in your Chevy S10, weren't you?
You know me. I'm still doing donuts in my backyard to this day. But,
all right. Well, the next question is what real estate decision do you regret?
This property we bought down in Connecticut, and basically it was really far. It was a 2.5 hour flip, and I didn't have a team in the market, but yet we thought the spread was this massive spread. And it was our biggest loss, and we're still dealing with some issues with it today. But keeping in your market that you're comfortable with, know what you can control. And that was the biggest issue there.
We've learned that lesson a few times the hard way, too. What real estate advice do you have for the next generation?
Same thing. It's getting started, and start small if you need to, and then kind of scale. At least a little every year, and learn from guys like you, learn from maybe guys like us, and start kind of learning all that knowledge and seeing what you can do, and reach out to like local RIAs or local landlord groups. A lot of the older people, it's not like this big competition. Most people want to teach you. When we first got started, all the bigger guys that were there, they were so excited to actually teach us because we were excited and passionate about it. They, took us under their wing. They're like, do this, do that. And we didn't listen to them, but, they were ready to teach us. And years later, they were still happy to teach us when we actually were allowed to accept and assume some of the knowledge that they were getting.
We see that in our market too. I mean, if you just come around and talk with the old guys who've been doing it forever,
we all know one another anyway.
We want to help anyone new. I mean, maybe it'll take us a little bit of time to warm up to you, but once we see that you're willing to put in the work and you're around, there's nothing we won't share. There's nothing
Exactly.
we won't share. It's a unique little niche that you can find some really neat people around you that'll support you. I think you'd be shocked, like he said, if you go to these RIA meetings, sheriff sales, tax sales, meet people in all these different ways. It can become a community where we care about each other, even though we're competitors in a sense. It's cooperation.
Matt, tell us where we can find you, where our listeners can locate you.
Sure. Yeah, you guys can find us anywhere on Two Guys Take on Real Estate, whether it be YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok, even and Facebook.
Okay, well, we really appreciate you coming on. It's always great to talk to like-minded people. I know I speak for Scotty and I both. We really respect your work ethic and what you've been able to accomplish. It's quite amazing, and we wish you and your family the most of blessings.
Thank you. It was a blast having me be on. Thanks so much.
All right, everybody, that is our podcast today. We thank you for tuning in to the Homeboys podcast. Make sure you find Matt and Kevin, Two Guys Take on Real Estate. They're putting out a lot of really, really sound, interesting, intelligent advice on social media. Sometimes it's hard to find that on social media. Follow these guys. They know. And yeah, he's a ninja warrior. How cool is that? Till next time, happy investing.